Hello, Freaky Frighteners. You got the Brewster here for another episode of Brewster Vision Presents Mental Hell. And today I am joined by someone very near and dear to me who has been supporting me since before I was the Brewster, Bart Washington, a.k.a. the Bart Man. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right.
You all right?
Uh,
Good to see you, man. It's been a minute.
exactly. It's been a while. How's the dancing baby Groot I got you for Christmas many years ago?
Dude, I think my ex snagged that when she moved out of here.
Oh, bad person.
Yeah, not a very good person, and for many other reasons. But we'll talk off air about that situation.
Got it.
So you've been watching my stuff, following me, and you watched the first episode. You know how this runs. So I'm just going to let you have the floor and start wherever you want to start and talk about your past issues and how horror has helped you cope through it. And I'll just ask questions along the way.
Well, the horror hit me first before everything else. I mean, I walked right into a job working at the haunted houses, so I got to see ground zero when I worked at Nightmare in Painesville. So I got to watch it, so to see, built from the ground up back out there for many, many, many years.
Yeah.
But it helped me out a lot whenever I first got sick. And it was the one thing that that first year I got sick in 98 from my Crohn's disease, that I spent a good 2 weeks in the hospital. And the only thing I wanted to do was actually say goodbye to the friends I had made the years before that, because I didn't know what was going to entitle, and didn't know that was like the tip of the iceberg, so to speak. But the haunted houses and the horror movies and everything else have kept me in check and kept me grounded, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, if you don't mind elaborating on your illness and stuff, it's your story to tell, so I don't want to intrude. But what do you want? I mean, just
I don't know. Well, when I tell people that I'm literally if I said I was half the man I used to be, I'm literally talking. I can't even say that. I'm a quarter of what I used to be, because before I got sick, I was pushing. There was no scales, and the closest thing I had was the freight scale at Kennemetal, and that was 750, 785. I was 5'11", and probably about, my pant size, the last pair of pants I bought was 62, 64, so I was rounder than I was tall.
Yeah.
And after I got sick, the weight just started coming off of me. I didn't realize how bad it was getting until the summer after that. And I went to go put on a pair of pants and they fell off of me.
Yeah.
And I was like, I thought my mom had done something to them, because I was like, well, they fit me the last time I wore them. And with my Crohn's disease, I have the worst case scenario of what the IBD that runs through my family. And I got a worst case scenario to where I was hospitalized in September of 98. I was diagnosed with it in 96, but it had no major flare up until 98. And then spent part of the year there in the hospital, and then came back and was good until February of 99. And thankfully my mother had got me in with one of the specialists down at University Hospital downtown. And thankfully he took it a personal request from my mother's boss, because it was usually like 6 to 8 month lead time to see this doctor. And they got me in less than 2 weeks. And they admitted me right there on the spot, saying that there was catastrophically wrong. And I was literally, they said, had I not gone into the emergency room and down there at the trauma unit downtown, had I not done that, I probably would have died of the sepsis of infection of my internals liquefying in me without anybody being able to see it.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it was bad. That's how I ended up with my ostomy bag on my first one I had back in 99. I had one on for roughly about 10 months while my insides healed. And I dealt with a lot of things I didn't want. This is where my first issues with the mental health thing, because I just stopped doing everything I normally would do. Mm-hmm. I would get up I'd get up, go do what I had to do, go back to bed, because I had told the doctors, if you have to put one on me, I don't want to live. Don't do it. Just let me die.
Yeah.
Fill me with the narcotics and just let me drift off and go away. I didn't want to be burdened. I was 26 at the time. So, I mean, should have been my first cue, but I really didn't understand how bad it was getting that way until after that surgery. And then after I got it put back together and I could use the bathroom as a normal person would,
right,
I was good for quite a few years, but I still kept losing the weight and losing the weight and losing the weight. Little at a time here, little at a time there. Then I started to work it out at the gym that I used to have a membership to, and I felt a little bit better about certain things, but things were still never 100% in the back of my head as to why everything was how it was, how I could have been, how I was, in my mind, singled out with this disease that I didn't understand anything about.
Yeah.
And it took a toll. It did take a toll.
You feel like, how am I trying to word this here? Just the whole why me mentality. Like, why do I deserve this kind of stuff?
Exactly. I was like, I didn't do nothing. Why am I having to deal with this? And I felt alone. And this was pre-internet by a few years. So whereas now I'm like on 24 different sites for that, along with my kidney disease and everything else, where if I have to ask questions or have support, I can go there on top of having my wife and the kids and everything else. But back then I was by myself, and I didn't understand at the time about how the alcoholism, how bad it ran through myself and my parents. And it would be nothing for my parents to just be like, oh, you're fine. No, I'm not fine. I asked for help many times, and nobody did anything or offered any help at all.
Yeah.
And like I said, that was before my wife came in the picture. So it was like I had no support group or anything. I felt like I was alone by myself. And that takes a toll out on you when you think that you're the only one on this planet suffering from this. And if you go to the hospital or go to a doctor saying, hey, look, I don't feel right, something's wrong. And the first thing they look at you and say, well, you're just here for pain medication or painkillers or something. I'm like, I'm not. I want fixed. Yeah. I want to be normal again.
So not you had that's you're ever normal, right?
Not that I was ever normal to begin with, but you get what I'm saying.
Normal-ish, normal adjacent, we'll call it.
Yes, thank you.
Now so you had alcoholism, so you had addiction issues in your past as well?
Oh yes. When I first got diagnosed with the drugs, I was on 7, 8 different painkillers.
Yeah.
That I was taking all at the same time.
Oh.
And my doctor's like, there's not much more we can give you. But my doctor understood, my personal doctor understood that there was something wrong. And she's like, well, you can't afford, this was about a week before that, I got admitted downtown. And she's like, look, if you can't miss this, a doctor's appointment, if something goes wrong, she's like, can you keep yourself calm and relaxed for the next 72 hours till this appointment? Because if you miss it, there's no guarantee when we're going to get you back in again. And she's like, I'll keep you, stoned until then, as long as you do it. And I realized at that point that, we're talking back when they would give you Demerol, right, for walking right into the emergency room.
Yeah. Just
like they would do now with fentanyl or anything on that lines. But yeah, I was always a big drinker I didn't start till about 22, but I lost more weekends than I care to admit, and don't remember how and don't understand how I didn't walk out with a DUI or car accidents or being arrested or anything on that lines. But I guess I was that good of I can't do it now. My driving sucks now, but back then I guess I was a much better driver when I was drunk than I was sober.
Well, they weren't looking that hardcore when we were younger, getting away with it.
No, sir, they were not.
So were you dealing with this alcoholism around the time that you mentioned earlier that you were just getting up, doing what you had to do, and going back to bed? Were you dealing
Yes.
with that? Really? So it was you had this disease, this like was making you think your time was up, and the alcoholism on top of it,
Exactly.
and you're probably
And
using the alcoholism to cope, weren't you?
I don't know really what I was using it to do something, but it was sure as hell wasn't to get any better because I wasn't getting any better.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. I'm not faulting you. I totally get it because you get to that point that shit's a demon in a bottle, because I've been through stuff. I think 2013.
Mm-hmm.
There was a brief period there where I would hit the bar after work because just feeling like shit, just to get a couple of them. But if you're used to going on the weekend evenings, but you go on a 5 o'clock happy hour after work, it throws your whole mentality off because at 8 o'clock you're exhausted because you're used to coming home. So then you go to sleep and you wake up the next morning, you feel like shit, and you want to go back to the bar to feel better again.
Exactly. Or if you call, or thank God we didn't have the Uber everything in and DoorDash, or it would have just had it brought to the house, and I would have died there in my own house.
So now eventually you beat this. You used like what made you kind of wake up and say, I'm not doing this anymore?
With the alcoholism, or just
we'll start with the alcoholism and move on to the next one.
After I got married, my parents they never liked my wife to begin with because of the age difference between Tiff and I.
Yeah.
And their thing was they're going to take everything. She's going to take everything you have. I go, I don't have anything. I lost it all after I got sick. I mean, I had to pay back bills. I had to do everything else. And they kept saying, oh, she's just going to do this. But every time it was like, yes, like this. And I'm like, you know what? And then when my daughter was born, they accepted my youngest, but my stepdaughter, they wanted nothing to do with her. And I'm like, you know what? You can't do that to kids.
Yeah.
The kids are innocent. They did nothing to this. You're the one with the problem with my wife. You're the one that has this issue. And when I called them out on being alcoholics, my father would jump down my throat, especially when we were working together. He's like, how dare you call that? I said, then fine. I'm like, prove me wrong.
Yeah.
I was like, but what ended up being the catastrophic straw that broke the camel's back was we were at my aunt's house in August of 2009 for a family get-together. And my daughter she has no fear of the pool now, but back then she understood the rules. If she wanted to be in the pool, she had to wear floaties, but she wanted to dive off the deep end and wanted to show her grandparents that she could do it with us there. And my mother looked me square in the face and said, oh, we'll be out after we get our drinks. And I went, oh, hell no. You are not putting your alcohol above your granddaughter. And I drew the line in the sand there, and I blacked out because I lost my cool in the middle of my aunt's house. And next thing I know, I'm halfway home to Paynesville from Eastlake going, what happened? And my wife is looking at me. My daughter's in the back seat. She's crying. And I'm like, what happened? Tiff looked at me and goes, are you back? I was like, what did I miss? She's like, you went off on your mom and dad in the middle of a family get together. And my saving grace is that my uncle who passed away last summer was there and saw it all happen and knew exactly what it was entitled to because he had been in AA and a recovering alcoholic for 30 plus years at that time. And I realized at that point when I blacked out like that over just sheer anger, no alcohol, I said, I'm done drinking. And I'm like, I can't put my kids through what I went through growing up with my alcoholic parents. And I says, no child deserves to live in fear of their parents at any given time of the day. I'm like, fear if they're going to like rip a door off the wall or kick in a window or break a TV or something on that. I says, no. I'm like, so my wife called my aunt and uncle and said he needs help. What can I do to help him? And my uncle got me into the Al-Anon, and then I went into the regular AA after that. And that was August 21st. And I've been sober ever since.
Jesus Christ, dude. I never knew that shit about you. I mean, I knew about the drinking and stuff, but that particular story.
And that's just the alcohol. We're not, and that was the Crows. We're not even talking everything that's gone on since the kidney disease kicked in after I got the second bag on my side, permanent one. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. No. I'm still trying to process that story. That's all.
Oh, and it was, and everyone said I alienated my parents and this, and I says, I didn't do anything. I said, I took them straight in the face and said, look, if you're going to choose if you want to see your granddaughter, you need to be sober. Simple as that.
Yeah.
I mean, my brother and I both had, after a certain time, that they got out of work at a certain time in the afternoon. After 5:30, we wouldn't answer our phones anymore because they would call and just ramble on and say that my parents, they didn't like my friends. They didn't like my job. They didn't like the fact I was working haunted houses. They didn't like this. They didn't like that. I'm like, then what am I supposed to be? Like you? I don't want to be that bad. I see where my shortcomings are. And I don't need, at that point, I didn't need to drink anymore to feel better about myself because I was married. I had a daughter. I was going out. We were doing things. I says, but when you have the alcoholism on top of the illnesses and stuff like that, it gets hard after a while.
Yeah. So that was essentially your rock bottom then, when you blacked out and realized, like, had that epiphany moment right there.
Yes. I drew the line in the sand and told my parents to basically go away.
You can say fuck off. It's okay.
I'm trying to, so they're both gone now, and I'm trying to be better than they were. And like I said, had I not gotten calls, I never would have known my father passed away. Had my oldest not been friends with my cousin's oldest daughter over at North High School, and she ran up and she was like, I'm sorry about Uncle Roos passing away.
Yeah.
And I never even knew he was sick. I didn't know there was anything wrong. I didn't know till after he was gone. So, like I said, unfortunately, I never got a final. Anything that would have happened at the end, he would have done everything to get the last word in just to prove he was right. So I just let it go. It wasn't worth me being upset over or taking and holding a grudge or anything like that. And it took me a couple years of therapy and talking about it with a good friend of mine, and we would talk about it. She's like, it's not worth, you have to forgive them and move on, because it's not about giving them forgiveness. It's about letting yourself heal. And yeah, there was things said and done that there's no way of taking it back or saying I'm sorry for, but it's all I can do is say, hey, I did what I had to do to protect myself, my sanity, and my family. I'm like, if you don't like it, then that's entirely in your head.
I think they call that protecting your peace these days.
Exactly.
And it's I feel you there. It's my brother, we're going on 6 years that he passed away, and
yes,
the last 2 weeks he was alive, I could tell he was still using. He'd gotten out of a rehab again, and you can just tell it when people are legit clean, they're happy with the stupidest things. He was in his 30s and totally fine with the fact that he was spending a Friday night at mom's house because he was somewhere safe and, home.
Right.
But those last 2 weeks he was alive. He was on his phone. He was rushing out the door last minute, I got to get going all of a sudden. And I stopped talking to him because I was tired of giving the spiels of what I could help him do and keep his mind free and stuff like that. And then I got that phone call,
Well, exactly. There's nothing you can do, and like you said about protecting yourself. After a while, I mean, you don't want to say you didn't want it to happen, but unfortunately, things happen, and there's really nothing much we can do. I mean, if they didn't, I mean, that was one of the reasons why I ended up as my children and my wife lovingly like to say my grippy sock vacation that I had at Laurelwood.
Yeah, been there.
But I couldn't mentally, I could not think of any other thing to do that would not have ended badly.
Yeah.
And I knew enough to say that I knew I couldn't ask my wife to do it, because in my head, it made me feel less of a person, less of a man, so to speak, to say I need help. So, I mean, it was the last ditch effort I think I had to do, and that I tried to do. I was like, I went to the hospital. I mean, they thought I was coming in for my kidneys, and I'm like, nope. I wished it was my kidneys this time. It is something a lot worse, and I have no clue what's wrong with me. And they started talking to me and listening to me, and then next thing I know, I'm in the wonderful green jumpsuit that they give us out there, and the grippy socks, and I learned a lot in the week that I was there, but I also learned a lot knowing that I had a long way to go before anything was going to be better again. But if I look back at everything now, it was never better to begin with. It's better now.
Yeah.
Because I have the building blocks to work with. I have my journals. I know what to say. And I know the trigger effects of if I'm going to start being angry about something or on that lines, I stop, I count to 3, I do all my internal mental stuff that I would do and calm down, I walk away, and then come back and start over again, and we go from there.
Yeah.
But before, I probably would have just flown off the handle, thrown like tonight with my laptop. I'm doing it off my phone. I would have thrown my laptop through a window by now. But it was because I had everything else updated, but not that. I'll figure it out later.
You're fine.
Not a problem.
It's coming in fine. Don't worry about it.
Okay. But yeah, the one and the years have taught me over learning everything, going and talking with friends and being with friends of mine from the past who've I've run into, and they're like, "Oh, you've changed so much." I go, "Well, I gotten help. I'm on my medications. The medications help immensely, and it was almost crazy as to how easy it was once I got the appropriate help." So
I can feel you there, because you're absolutely right. As guys and stuff, we can handle it. We don't want to be a burden. We just push it all down until it goes away.
Mm-hmm.
But then you get to a certain point, and I've dealt with this. I actually had to stop talking to a couple people over the past year, because they had the same mentality, but at the same time, where we've evolved in the sense of, okay, we're still going to, as men, because we're stupid.
Yes. Agreed.
Let's try and do it on our own, because we just want to. That's just in our mentality. But we realize now that if it's starting to affect the people around us, okay, I'm going to have to open my fucking mouth here and say something,
Right. Exactly.
Because our desire to not hurt the people we care about is greater than our stupid man pride of I can handle it on my own,
Right. And I also grew up with the mentality of just man through it. You'll feel better tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, when you wake up tomorrow and you still feel bad or worse than you did today, how is it any better? And then the day after adds on to that day, and then the day after that adds on to the day before that. And it comes down to, if you didn't like where you were working, if you didn't like the shift you were on, if you didn't like the people that were around you. Thankfully, I had a couple guys at Kennemetal when I worked there that were really, really supportive of me, that I talked to on a daily basis, that we knew what was going on. But like I said, probably one of the best things I had, like I said, was the fact that I had the haunted houses. that was one of the things I fell back on before I got married. And it was like, we would spend all year what we were going to go through. And I got more and more involved in it with the aspects of the building and everything else. So by the time October came around, I was so sick of seeing Halloween. I didn't want to see it anymore, which is a cardinal sin in this household these days, which you can understand.
I'm going to pretend I didn't hear you say you were not ready for Halloween. I'm going to pretend I didn't hear
by the time Halloween came around, I was walking around with walking pneumonia. I just wanted to go to the hospital and die anyways, because I was like, I had been so sick of being out in the rain and the cold. Because, I mean, we had years where I'd start in Arctic wear and end in shorts on Halloween, in t-shirts and a tank top, and then start off the season the next year in tank tops and end up having to call the last weekend because we had snow on the ground. And it's like, crazy as this crap as it is.
Well, that's Ohio's bipolar weather is what that is.
Well, I can sympathize with it. I understand it a little bit more better these days.
So when you got clean and sober, that's what you did to occupy your time then?
Yes.
You worked in the
I was at the movies all the time. Or renting movies, which is now you stream everything online, or you get your streaming services. But I can't tell you how many weekends I spent before I got married where I would go in the morning and I'd go to 3 or 4 different movies at 2 different theaters out in Menor, and jump from one theater to another, then go back to the other one to see another one, because I had nothing else better to do. I wasn't married at that time.
Yeah.
But my kids have picked up the whole concept. I can't tell you now how many times we've done the whole family sneaking into midnight showings for Marvel movies or horror movies and stuff like that. And all of us in the front row and everyone going, wait a minute, what's going on? We're like, no, it's a family thing. Go away. And me, we there with like 6 kids because it was my daughters and their friends and the adopted kids we had taken on over the years that have just tagged along going, can we go? I'm like, yeah, you can go. I got no problem with that. And them go, wow, we never knew. Wow. I'm like, yeah. I said, where do you go to escape? You go to the movies, you go see a horror movie, you go see a Marvel movie. Nowadays, I stream it all and sit at home and watch everything happen.
So what were you like? What was it that horror related, which you felt was a
things can get
more comfortable outlets, you know?
Well, that things can get better, but things could be a whole lot worse.
Yeah.
And like I said, whenever I first got sick, it was like when they told me that I had Crohn's disease, I had no clue what it was. And then after I got sick, like legitimately you're getting admitted to the hospital because we can't fix you here in the emergency room. We don't know what's wrong. Yeah. And you look at it, and at 26, you're realizing I'm not going to see 30.
Yeah.
And I was just like, well, just get me through get me, I guess you want to say, stabilized, so I could at least say goodbye to the friends I've made, because I didn't think I was going to be there for October of the next year, because the way, as bad as it sounds, and when they give you a life-changing diagnosis like that, it's the end of the world to a 26-year-old. Nowadays, they say you can't have milk. It's like, okay, so it's Monday then. But back then, when they said they didn't understand it like they do now. They're saying, well, you can't have this, you can't drink dairy, you can't have cheese. I'm like, I was living off bananas, pudding, Jell-O, beef broth, rice. I'm like, I'm used to sitting at that time down eating a large pizza and stuff like that and scarfing it down at one sitting, because at that point I could do that at that point. Nowadays, now if I have 3 pieces of pizza, I'm like, boy, that's going to sit wrong when I go to bed tonight. I can see it now.
So you've been clean, what year was it you got clean from alcohol?
2009.
So just a few years shy of 20 years, correct?
Yep. I'll be 17 years this year. Yes.
Do you now? Obviously, I'm assuming, maybe incorrectly. I don't know. The urge to go back to old habits fades over the years. Do you ever get like kind of triggered to, or you just said you did your therapy and stuff? You just got to stick to that, or adhere to that
Oh,
strict diet.
oh yeah. I mean, it was years before I could even think about going into any place that had alcohol or a bar.
Yeah.
And actually, right after my mother-in-law passed away this past year, or end of the year, my wife and I were out and about, and she wanted one of the Hoovers from Benny 306 Lounge.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, yeah, not a problem. I haven't been out there since. And I stopped and started thinking, going, oh God, I remember a weekend that way back way in the day, and I went, okay. We went in. I had no inclination to want to drink. I sat there and drank Pepsi all night.
Yeah.
I didn't have a problem with it. It didn't. It wasn't. It was a milestone in my head because it meant I could go to a bar like that where I used to frequent and not have the urge to want to drink and not to be stupid and not to do stupid things and wake up tomorrow morning going, oh my God, what did I do? Where's my money? Is the car in one shape? It's the normal weekend thing I used to have. I no longer have anymore.
So, do you think going to see the horror movies and stuff, there was kind of like, is, a lot of the standard storyline, the hero gets his ass kicked or whatever, then eventually at the end, with most horror movies, they stand up and they kick the villain's ass. Do you think that was kind of your thing? Like maybe you saw yourself in the hero, that even if trigger wasn't kind of, you were this person fighting off the addiction?
Yes, I do now after my therapy and stuff like that. I do agree on that one. Yeah. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, looking back on it now, I can't tell you how many weekend battles I lost where I sat there thinking, I go back in the middle of the week going, was I here last weekend? Did I do this? Did I do that? And people going, oh man, you were raising all kinds of hell. And I'm like going, I apologize. I didn't. And then after a while, it's like, I didn't like myself anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't understand that until after I started the therapy and after AA and after being married. And then when my daughter was born, and it opened my eyes to everything else, and I saw everything that happened to me from my alcoholic parents, that I didn't want them growing up that way.
Yeah.
No, and I was like, no, I chose to break the cycle by getting involved with the AA, with getting involved and helping out. And like I said, my uncle, whenever I hit 1 year, he was the one that he came back to the meetings with me, and he was the one that presented me with my first 1 year token, and gave me a separate one that was this regular Serenity coin one. And when he passed away, I made sure I returned it to him in his casket when he passed away, because I thanked him, but I never really thanked him, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because without my uncle, I probably would have not gotten the help that I needed to begin with, or started the help that I needed.
Yeah.
And he knew just from his own telltale signs and stuff like that. And he knew that I needed help. And I was appreciative of him in more ways than one. And I'm still very appreciative of him and speak very highly of him.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry you lost him, man.
Unfortunately, you can't put it's not the years, it's the miles we put on after a while. So whatever, you can't take the mileage off the car. All you can do is just try to keep coating the outside of the car to keep it going for another year or so.
Do you think, speaking of your parents stuff, that like I'm forgive me if I'm asking like inappropriate questions here.
No, go ahead.
You mentioned that ran in your family. Did your upbringing, I'm guessing, probably contributed to your mid-20 alcoholism?
Yes.
I mean, is that kind of stuff you want to talk about, like what you had to deal with?
Yeah, I can talk about it now. Before I would have denied everything. I used to just let everything hit me and flow off my back and say it'll be better tomorrow. It'll be better tomorrow. But it never got better. It just festered down deep, and I would pack it down and push it away. And then I think, okay, it'll get better. It get better, and then it wouldn't get any better.
Were they just neglectful to you, or were they always just, you know?
Well, my grandparents were my biggest supporters when they were alive, and before my wife, before Tiff came in the picture. And what got me is that my younger brother, who is clean and sober now, he's been sober for quite a few years since he got in trouble when he was in the military, but he found his way out, which my hat's off to him and my sister-in-law, because my sister-in-law changed him for the better. And but what got me is that my brother, when he decided, first he wanted to become a doctor. So my mom worked at Case Western. Well, you get all this stuff paid for and blah, blah, blah. Then he decides he's going into the Marine Corps. Like, okay, I can't fault him for that. Be your own man.
Yeah.
Well, he had gone in and did this. Well, every time he scored on that ASVAB test, he kept getting better and better scores to the point he qualified for military intelligence. And to that extent, that's all I knew about what he did when he was in the military. But his leave date wasn't scheduled for April. But when he scored the last time he did, they said, we're taking you now if you want to go. And he was leaving on the 23rd of December. Well, in my parents' mind is that, well, no one understands what our child's in boot camp for Christmas time and this. And meanwhile, I'm sitting there going, hello, you have 2 children. And I didn't get anything. They were all worried about my little brother, and they forgot about me. Yeah. And my grandfather was the one that stepped up and goes, in case you didn't realize, you do have 2 sons, and the other one's in there with nothing. Yet you're here complaining, and their thing was pity me. I'm the victim. We're the victims. Okay, you don't know what it's like. You don't know what. And my grandfather goes, you're not the first military family to send people to the military. You won't be the last. But you have 2 sons. You need to take care and check out for both of them. And that's where I realized that with my parents, the alcohol always was going to come first. And then it was, let's start the fights. Let's see what we can do. Let's get the last word in. And I got pushed to the side or pushed down. And then the only reason why I became a priority to them was because I did get sick with the Crohn's. And then it was, well, they would do what they had to do to help me. And then everything after that was, as they were drinking, well, you don't know what it's like to have a kid with a chronic illness and this and that. I go, wait a minute, I'm living on my own. Okay, I work at Kennemetal, I do this, I pay my own bills. What does this have anything to do with you? Why are you using me as a scapegoat for your drinking? Because you don't like your job, or you don't like what you did, or you didn't like this that happened at work today, or they told you couldn't do this. I'm like, why am I paying the price for your insecurities and your issues? Yeah. So, but after a while, like you said, I was like a duck to water. I just let the water flow right off of me and let it go and let it go. And then it's sort of it took its toll after a while. And then I guess you could say I took the old, if you can't beat them, join them. And I can't tell you how many times I stumbled into my parents' house or stumbled past my parents whenever I was wasted off my ass, so to speak. And, are you drunk? No. Are you? And I'm looking at me and go, well, what kind of question is that? I said, you answer it for me first. Are you drunk? No, then I'm not either. Had that fight with him many times. Yeah.
I can't imagine what that's going through. Like, I remember those PSA announcements where, like, there was a kid in the back seat, whatever, and there was like a demonic bunny driving the car or something like that. It's like, this is how your kids see you when you're under the influence or something like that. And even from somebody who doesn't have kids, it's like I felt sorry for the little bastards. And
exactly.
Essentially, that was you in the little back seat, wasn't it?
Yep. And like I said, after looking back at it now, I'm look back saying, yeah, you're right with that. But that was one of the biggest things that made me want to change. It was like I didn't want my kids looking at me that way. Yeah. I didn't want them to harbor the same resentment that I'm dealing with now in my recovery of undoing everything that my parents had done or not done or neglected to do or chose their alcohol over doing instead of doing that. Yeah, growing up, I mean, I can't tell you. I was first one to take time off from work to go and be a chaperone for my kids to go to Cedar Point. Yeah. I went to the Rock Hall with my youngest. I went to Cedar Point with the oldest for a choir competition. I was like, I'm not going to miss out on the things I wanted my parents there to enjoy and say, hey, look, that's my mom and dad up there, and have them not fall out of the stands like marching band like they did to my senior year, going, oh my God, they're embarrassing the hell out of us. I wasn't going to put my kids through that at all.
So that's what you gravitated towards horror movies then, because it's probably more frightening on screen than what you experienced in your daily life then.
Yes. And it keeps you grounded because you're like, you look at it and go, things could be a lot worse. Yeah. But things get better when the sun comes up tomorrow and a new day starts. You get another chance to try over again and be a better person.
So not that fighting addiction is easy, but it's definitely easier than fighting Freddy Krueger in your nightmares.
Oh, yeah, I guess you could say that. My biggest thing, though, was Michael Myers from Halloween. That was the one that always got me.
Now, when you were working Nightmare in Painesville, what was your job there?
I started off as security and then worked my way up to an assistant site manager.
And what did that job entail?
Security basically walked around, made sure that the actors were safe, that things weren't getting destroyed. And if we had to intervene, and we took the beating so that the actors were safe. Yeah. And that the property of the individuals that owned and operated the house didn't get destroyed.
Yeah. And what was the next one you said you upgraded to?
Oh, I went to cast manager, which means I was just basically in charge of the house. I enjoyed just walking around, looking at. I enjoyed the reaction of grown groups of men who were very tall, very large, cower at a little 20-year-old girl dressed like the little girl driving around in a room on a tricycle going, 1, 2, Freddy's, and watch these guys freak out like there was no tomorrow.
Dude, so I think I've told this story before on something, I don't know, but many years ago when I was on antidepressants, I was a fixer, I think I was on, and it was an easy. So it was because of my issues with self-harm and depression and stuff. So it was, if I remember correctly, it was an organic medicine so that I could not overdose. I could literally down the entire bottle and nothing was going to happen. Your body just absorbs it. The problem was when I wanted to stop taking it, it was hard to wean off because I had these insane nightmares, and Freddy Krueger was one and Hellraiser was the other. And I woke up from these things terrified, and it's like, I willingly watch this stuff all the time. Why am I afraid of this shit in my nightmares? Because it's different if you're facing it head on,
Because my thing with that one though is I always felt like I was falling when there's certain things, and it was like your body would react and you jerk yourself, and it would always happen at the most inopportune time in a nightmare or dream or whatever it was. And literally fly out of bed thinking, I'm dying. Yeah. And you have no clue where you're at, what time it is, how long you've been asleep. And I've had a few of those in my past. I remember those quite distinctively.
I think some of my nightmares are probably more induced because of my insane love for horror movies. So that's on me. I'm not going to argue that one.
Oh yeah.
The sleep paralysis, I don't know what the hell that's about.
No, the sleep one I didn't have. That one there. That's just a freaky thing to think about to begin with. I mean, just to not be able to move at all. At least if I feel like I'm falling, I got that. I can roll around. You have that motion, but when you're the sleep paralysis, you're not being able to move anywhere. You can't yell. You can't do anything. You don't even know where you're at half the time.
Yeah, and don't forget the night hag if you're familiar with that.
Yep.
There was one. This is like over 10 years ago. I'll never forgot it though. I was sleeping on the couch where I was living at the time, and I don't remember what she was saying, but it was just in this kind of like taunting, "Oh, we're gonna have so much fun" kind of way, dude. It just scared the shit out of me.
Out of you, exactly.
That's why that Volbeat song, Room 24, man, that hits home for sure.
Oh yeah. Well, one of the biggest things I remember though is that when you deal with your nightmares, excuse me, the Michael Myers one was always the one that did me in. And the one year we weren't, believe it was 96, 97. Yeah. We actually had Kane Hodder there one weekend. We had, I got to meet Kane Hodder before he became him.
Yeah.
And Don Shanks, who had played Michael Myers in Halloween 5. Mm-hmm. And he came back quite a few times on his own dollar just to have fun, because it was one of the few places they'd let him play, so to speak, in the haunted houses. But I kid you not, the first time I walked into it, we knew where he was going to be hiding because he wanted to be in a scene to come out of people. And one of the female guards and I were going through the house, and we're following him behind a group of ladies that were ahead of us. Mm-hmm. And we had volunteered to be live props, meaning he could come at us. He wasn't allowed to touch anybody else, but those of us that he knew were able to, he'd come at us. Well, Tammy and I walked into the room, and he came around the corner, and I kid you not, dude, I was 10 years old again watching that he's standing there holding the knife like that, and I stopped dead, and I swear I thought I was going to leak down my drawers. I swear to God. And he came at us. He had the moves right. He did the whole head turning thing where he didn't move his head, and I was literally the 10, 12-year-old I was when I first saw it going, oh my God, I'm going to die. And there was nothing I could do. And Tammy let out this scream, and had she not screamed, and at that time I was probably at one of my largest weights at the time, and he picked me up literally and threw me across the room. And I was going, and I could see where I was going to land. And mind you, I had a mag light down my jacket because we were allowed to carry the flashlights with us. And the last thing I said before I hit this couch was, this is going to hurt because there's no cushion in that couch. Mm-hmm. And I hit that couch, and it knocked all the wind out of me. And all of a sudden, I'm looking up going, all I could do is, Tammy let out a scream. She went out. The girls, the group of ladies in front of us tore off. They tore out of the house, straight out the door. Boom. Went right through every scene, over other groups. And I'm laughing. I come out, and the other guards thought, and the bosses thought I got jumped by somebody. I says, I didn't get jumped. Don picked me up and threw me. And they all went, wait, what? I go, they went, and he comes out, and he's like, I am so sorry, dude. I didn't know I wasn't allowed to do that. I go, no, you got to understand. I've never been picked up and manhandled like that before. He goes, oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, I'm not free falling. That's a weird experience. Okay. I said, on top of the fact that, he goes, you stopped real suddenly. Whenever I came out around the corner, I didn't know if I scared you or not. I'm like, dude, you turned me into the 12-year-old version of myself when I first saw the Halloween movies. He goes, that was my intention. I'm like, well, you got it, dude. You got it on that point and so much more. One of my fondest memories of working at the haunted house is there. Yes.
That's and you wouldn't have had that if you didn't get for lack of a better term, get your act together.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And at that point, I would say I wasn't. I was considered it a job to me, so I wasn't drinking or doing drugs while I was working. But the second we got done at the house, first thing we did was go across the street to the bars.
Yeah.
As soon as we were done and we were sure we weren't needed, yeah, I'm going to the bar. We got 2 hours. I could slam down. I could kill half a bottle of Gentleman Jack or regular Jack Daniels and be fine in 25, 35, 40 minutes or so.
Right.
And don't even remember how I got back home. And I was talking from Painesville to Wickliffe and back again. And I'm like, no. That's why I stayed sober after a while and then just stopped. It was like your body takes a toll after so long, especially with the Crohn's disease and everything that they've removed from my internal system. My body couldn't handle the alcohol like it used to be able to. And it caused me more problems the next week. And it got to the point I was drinking less and less, to the point I was like, I felt better not drinking than I did when I was drinking. Yeah. Granted, I still drank every now and then still had weekends where I don't remember how I did this or how did I get here or how this happened. But it wasn't a nightly different thing like it used to be whenever I first turned 22, 23 years old.
Yeah. So we're coming up to the 50-minute mark. So what genre of horror did you feel most comfortable with after to cope with all this whole, you know what I mean? Like what made you feel like, I guess my first impression, but they weren't released at the time, would be the Saw movies, because seeing a guy who's putting people through tests to show them essentially what they're taking for granted. So what kind of genre helped you the most?
I guess in all honesty, I always loved the 80s slasher movies.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Nothing in general. I mean, I liked Sleepaway Camp. I liked Silent Night, Deadly Night. The Halloweens, the Nightmares, Nightmare in Painesville, Nightmare in Elm Streets. Wasn't a fan of the brand new one, the re-released new one it was. And that one was it didn't do nothing for me.
Yeah, I gotcha.
And I got it, I watched it, and I went, what was so scary about it? I mean, it wasn't Johnny Depp getting pulled down into the bed and his explodes all over the ceiling. Now that still freaks me out some days, but that's beside the point. But if anything on that one, but my biggest thing that I remember, the one that gets me is still Jaws, the original Jaws movie, if you want to consider it. And I kid you not, my kids will sit and watch it with me to watch me, not the movie, because they know for a fact they can count down when that head falls out of the boat with Richard Dreyfuss. When the head falls out of the boat, I will jump no matter where I am at, and they'll count it down, going 3, 2, 1. The head falls out, I jump, even if I'm expecting it and I know it's coming. It was one of the first original horror movies I ever saw. I remember seeing it right when it first came back in 74, 75. I remember going, wait a minute, it's a shark. You don't see the shark till the very end, and then bits and pieces of it. And then watching everything now that they have about it and all the crap that they had that went wrong with the movie, I'm surprised it turned out as well as it did, and I'm thankful that they've never done or tried to do a modern remake of it, because I don't think they would do it any justice.
Yeah, not yet anyways. It holds up. I went and saw it last summer with Rick Baldwin, the co-host over at Whole Day Enchilada podcast. It holds up, man. It's that because there's I think that when the shark is attacking it, there's no music. It's just
it's not what you see. It's not what you see. It's what you don't see that gets you. Mm-hmm. It's like when I saw the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They kept saying, "Oh, the scariest horror movie," and I got done after seeing all the Nightmare on Elm Streets and this, and I watched it and the original, and I did get to meet Toby Hopper. Mm-hmm. I got to meet him. We had him one year at Nightmare in Painesville too, and very nice, educated individual.
Yeah.
And I remember asking him, going, why did it make it so scary? He goes, what scares you most? Seeing a guy with a chainsaw or hearing a chainsaw, not knowing where it's coming from in the middle of the night? I went, okay, touche. You make a good point on that one. I was like, at least if you see me coming, you know that you have a standing chance. He goes, if you're all of a sudden out of nowhere, all of a sudden you hear a chainsaw starts up and it's pitch black outside, you don't know where it's coming from.
You're not wrong.
So, but like I said, with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre as compared to everything else, I mean, I've seen the remakes of it. Yeah, they're good, they're gory and everything, but they still don't stand. The Texas Chainsaw, it'll stand its test of time with that one. It's not by what you see, it's what you didn't see and how it made you feel that makes you feel like anything can happen to you, good, bad, or ugly at any given time.
Mm-hmm. So would you say that was like a metaphor for just life in general? That's why you try and choose to stay on the straight and narrow.
Exactly. Like I said, I've made enough excuses for me being dumb and stupid. I don't need to make any more. I could just say, nowadays, I just say I'm old. Give me some credit. Okay, I made it this far. I wasn't expected to see 30, let alone 50.
Yeah. Well, shit, man. I didn't know half of that stuff about you before tonight. I knew you had the drinking things. I remember I got you to come out once many years ago, but Jesus Christ, I'm glad you kicked that shit.
Hey, like I said, when you hit rock bottom, the only place you can go is up. And you look for friends, you look for things that can help you to make yourself a better person. However it was, without making alcohol or drugs or anything on that lines as a stepping stone, or in your head, a stepping stone. Mm-hmm. And for a long time, that's how I thought it was. I thought I made myself feel better or made everything go away for a little while. And then tomorrow it'd start all over again and I'm back to square one again.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I appreciate you not, just getting yourself in order and not putting your friends and family through that stuff anymore. Because it's hard being on the other end too and watching people you care about go through that and not listen to,
Right. I mean, I couldn't help my parents. I tried. I tried more times than I care to admit to try to get them help and have them get some help. And after a point, you just comes, you know what? I got to take care of myself if you're not going to take care of yourself, how can I take care of me? I was like, I can't take care of both of us, all of us. So I'm going to concentrate on myself being a better person. And wherever you fall, you fall.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm just taken back by this. I'm just glad you kicked it, man. I'm glad you're still here, and I've always appreciated your support of my antics ever since before the Brewster stuff. I just want you to know that I appreciate the hell out of you, man. I always have.
I know. I appreciate you too, Frankie. Formerly Frankie. Sorry, Brewster. Frankie from when I first met you.
Oh, we're gonna have to cut that clip out or mute it or something. We'll figure it out. It's all right. I'm just messing with you. But did you want to plug your store or anything before we head out of here?
Nah, I'm good, Frank.
You sure? You don't want to give a shout out to where you work?
I work. I sit at home and play PlayStation because it's easier. It's easier on my body than it was before since I've been down with the kidney disease now. So, but yeah, do the best I can with how I can, and hopefully one more week outside the hospital and not going in for IV infusions is a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I seen your post there. I'll have to let you check it out next time and send you. I'll try and keep an update on there and send you some funny stuff for some trailers next time you're in there.
Okay.
So, all right. Well, thank you, dude. Again, thank you so much for coming on here and sharing your story. I know this kind of stuff isn't easy to talk about, and I just appreciate you helping inspire people.
It's a lot easier now knowing that I'm not the only one going through it. It's always been my biggest thing. Is like I said, when you don't know anybody else and you have no way of asking, hey, do you have issues? And people look at you and go, no, and go away. And it is what it is. But knowing that you're not alone, that's the first step in asking for help.
You're not wrong there. And that's actually, maybe one of these days I'll bring you on and you can interview me or some shit. But why I dove into this about, I think 3 years ago, something like that, 3 or 4 years ago, and just found like-minded people. I mean, I always knew you, but I found some other people who were in the horror community and had similar issues and stuff. And it's a very welcoming one. I always say the horror, no one there aside from family is there for you, like the horror community,
Exactly. I agree.
So, all right, well, we'll get out of here. I'll let you get back to your PS5 there. I appreciate you taking the time tonight to shoot this.
All right, not a problem. Happy to be of service to you, sir.
And I am the Brewster. That was just Bart, and this is Brewster Vision Presents Mental Hell. And until next time, thank you for tuning in, and stay cool, freaky frighteners.